Oh, come on. Ugh, my computer's being slow and annoying. And there's honking. Jesus Christ, people, relax. I can't even send out the tweet. God, this is really annoying. Bear with me, guys. I'm trying to send out a tweet, but it's not letting me. I'll do it on my... Well, I don't have my phone in front of me. Well, that lot of good that's gonna do. Okay, tweet. Here we go. Streaming now. Official. Tweeted. And now Facebook. Done. Okay. Done. All right, everybody. Okay, cool. So, I am having a terrific day. I am very excited to discuss this Brexit disaster and how embarrassing it is. It's really, really good. Let me see. There's so many levels to this. By the way, so one of the things that was I was sad. Raheem Kassam, there's one of those is an M or an N. I fuck him up. You know, he had this tweet where he's like, you know, all my American conservative friends, you know, who are excited about Boris Johnson, you're going to be sorely disappointed. And first of all, it bothers me a lot when people, and I'm not saying this about Raheem at all. I'm just saying this would be an example of it, and I don't think this is his case. When people are committed to the black pill and thinking how things are going to be terrible. And if you're looking for government for the answer, you're going to be disappointed. It's just not happening. What you can look for, the tea is so salty and yet so sweet, right? It's so good. So what we need to appreciate here in the States is several things. I talked about this a bit on Nightshade on Thursday. Jeremy Corbyn is really just a horrible piece of shit. Like, he is like Ellsworth Toohey. Just a miserable, mean, pathetic nobody who, you know, became head of the Labour Party. Humorless, miserable person. And it's, what's his name? Seth Mandel, who is a conservative, very blue-pilled. You know, he was like trying to call all these lefties to task about, oh, you know, you guys, you know, carried water for this anti-Semite and blah, blah, blah. You don't really care about race or racism or anti-Semitism at all. And it's like, yeah, no shit, dude. It's just shock. It's like, no, the only thing that matters is power. They would throw any group overboard in 5 seconds to further their cause on power. And here's the proof. The party is the Labour Party. Labour. It's the party of the working man. When you hear how the Labour Party talks, do they appreciate the working man who was the ostensible basis for their party and how the working man voted vis-a-vis Brexit? Or is it 100% sneering contempt for these pieces of shit who don't know their place? It couldn't be clearer. So when the working man is voting Labour, and it's a dependable Labour vote, he's the best thing since sliced bread. And now he votes the other way. Oh, you're a closet Nazi. Just like overnight. It's so clear. So it's very funny to. So the thing is, with Seth being like, oh my God, they're making excuses for anti-Semites. Yeah, they'll make excuses for literally anything that will further the revolution. How is this? I don't understand how I do understand, I guess. Like conservatives who are so, I don't mean Tories, I mean conservatives who are so well-read and who have access to so much data and who have access to so much history are still like, well, if I call them out on their hypocrisy, they're going to feel stupid. What? Why? Why would they feel stupid? What do you think? Do you have any thoughts? I don't have any thoughts. So let's take a step back. I remember very, very vividly 2004 when Bush was reelected. I'm not a Bush fan, to say the least. The thing is, prior to 2004, the daily, George Bush is the worst, Iraq war, every New York Times headline every day, more dead in Iraq, American soldiers, he's fucking up the war, every single day. The worst, this guy's the worst, we have to get him out of here, the worst. It wasn't as extreme as 2015 and 2016 vis-a-vis Trump, but it was close to it. And, oh my God, this is so... And when Bush was reelected, which wasn't supposed to happen, I remember the Republican National Convention of that year was here in New York. I remember the day after the election, and people here think if Trump gets reelected, there'll be meltdowns bigger than 2016. If 2004 is an indicator, it's not going to be that way. Because what happened in 2004 was they were walking around in a daze. At that point, it was like, all right, something's not adding up here. So it wasn't meltdowns. It was like, I don't get it. Like, it was really very, very interesting. And it was similar in many ways to 96 because it was basically, or 98. I don't remember which one it was, when the Republicans, pretty much to their satisfaction, No, it was 96. I remember Bob Dole, the last week before the election, had said explicitly, using these words, he said, wake up. He really said, wake up, America. You can goggle it. You're about to reelect like the most corrupt person ever. I don't remember what phrasing he is, but it was, wake up, you're about to reelect. And when that happened, all the Christian conservatives there was even an article I remember at the time where they're like, okay, what do we do? Everyone knew this was a completely immoral person. He still got reelected. There wasn't any confusion vis-a-vis his character, so we can't even play that game. What do we do? And this was a big head-scratching moment for the right wing. And some people were like, do we form our own subculture? Like, there was a big, like, regrouping. This Brexit thing, I think people are really underestimating how much it has shook the left-wing intelligentsia here in the States as well as Britain. Because I remember Kathy Griffin on her show, her reality show, My Life in the D-List. There was an episode where she went around and was going door to door to get people to vote against gay marriage, or vote for gay marriage in California. They were going to have there was a referendum, and basically how it was written was like, do you want gay marriage to pass? And to say yes meant you were against gay marriage. It was kind of like the opposite. And all these lefties convinced themselves that, oh, because you have to say no to be for gay marriage, people are confused and they don't really mean it. And she went to this black lady's house. I'll never forget this on her show. And she's like, oh, how are you going to vote for... And before the woman even says anything, she's like, oh, I know it's confusing. And the woman's like, no, I'm voting against gay marriage. I know what I'm choosing. And she was just like flummoxed. So even though they believe that everyone is somehow a closet racist Klansman Nazi, they also don't. So they thought, all right, Brexit barely passed. People didn't know what they were getting themselves into. It was a fit of pique. And we've had 3 years, and we've been showing them the consequences. And, you're dealing with these kids, and now you got to explain to them as the adults in the room what it's going to mean. And they're not going to have medicine. And they're not going to be able to leave the country. And blah, 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 blah. It's going to be the worst thing ever. And sure, it sounded nice on paper, but let us explain to you. And if the election had been close, they would have said, oh, there's no mandate, blah, blah, blah. Right. What happens is, it's not ambiguous. It is Labor's lowest number of seats since before World War II, the modern era. It is the Conservatives, biggest number of seats in 30 years. And again, they can't even convince themselves, well, they've got this, popular, charismatic leader. Boris Johnson is in many ways a jackass, and he's portrayed as much worse than he is in the press. But this is not some kind of squeaky clean Mitt Romney type. And when the votes come in, and it's completely unambiguous, so you can't have the cognitive dissonance of telling yourself, oh, well, this doesn't really count because. 2016, you can very easily tell yourself as a Democrat, and fairly, that more voters wanted Hillary. And all the boomers flip out and say, oh, what difference does it make? What difference does it make? Well, there's a strong correlation between number of votes and getting elected to presidency. They tend to go hand in hand. Tend to. People don't understand the phrase tend to, and they have meltdowns because when you talk statistics, binary thinkers can't handle that. But this is not ambiguous. And it's wonderful that this miserable, miserable dick has been repudiated. And they've got a lot of... The thing is, what I always use this example. You make a deal with the devil, and you make the deal to become the world's greatest violinist, to get a mansion, to have a beautiful wife. You don't sell your soul for Jeremy fucking Corbyn. And they did. And not only did they not get the number 10, they got nothing to show for it. So this is really fuck them up and fuck them up fierce. What else is going to fuck them up fierce is when Brexit happens and there's going to be a difficult adjustment period. No question. But it's not going to be, I don't think, at all a disaster like they're saying. They're not going to know what to do. And I don't understand from a strategic point of view why the hell, I guess she doesn't have a choice, Pelosi, why they're setting up Trump to be exonerated, as he's going to call it, by the Senate. I mean, he's going to throw in their faces every day. And the thing that I think people who are probably audiences of mine members of my audience, appreciate is the average person who's politically uninformed likes a winner. The bandwagon effect is very, very real in politics. So when you have someone who tries to, if you don't know anything about politics, and you see them try to take down Trump, and it just sputters out, there are a certain member of the population who are going to be drawn towards the winner simply because people tend to be drawn to strength. It's really going to be hilarious to see. And I guess at a certain point, there's this is very common among the never Trumpers, this kind of like self-righteousness. Sure, like I'm too, like how, Isabel Patterson, who was Ayn Rand's mentor, she was an author, and one of her books was a bomb. It like sold nothing, and she goes, "A book's failure is not proof of its quality," tongue in cheek, because a lot of people think, "Oh, my book was just too smart for the market. I'm just too good to be successful. Successful is base and for the dirty people, and I'm just holier than thou." And I guess as a part of this, like, well, we did what we could. We impeached him, but, it's just the system is just too dirty for pure me. Maybe they'll tell themselves this. I think, and I've said this many, many times, that if you have Hitler in the White House, hold on a second, Rhett, your goal has to be get Hitler out. You don't have time to be doing the right thing and being self-righteous. You have to figure out what gets this fucker out of office if he's this much of an existential threat to America as he's being told. You don't have time to dilly-dally. And if this didn't work last time, you got to change it up. You got to get rid of him. So, have you read Moldbug's Clear Pill essay series? I haven't read it yet. I've read the first one. Obviously, me and him have a huge Venn diagram in our thinking. So, the other thing I've started doing is running what I call, I love how pretentious this term is, and I'm going to be using it a lot, running psyops on these politicians. Because as an anarchist, I really could not regard politicians in any worse way. So I did this with Jeremy Corbyn. It got 1,000 likes. I doubt he saw it. But plenty. Thank you, Chris. Plenty of people, I'm sure, have. I said, hey, let me read the exact tweet, because this was kind of a new thing I'm doing, and I think this is gonna work wonders in 2020, because I've got shit planned. I said, Jeremy Corbyn, is it disheartening to know that your electoral defeat will be universally regarded as a repudiation of the political stance which you have been advocating your entire life, killing your ideas for at least a generation? So if I went at him, or at any people like, oh, fuck you, you're a loser, when you have that coming at you, it actually increases your morale. Because if you're upsetting your enemies and your haters, even though you lost, you feel righteous. You feel satisfied. When people yell at you who you don't like, it's like, all right, at least I'm doing something right. But if you ask the question that worm in their mind is asking, that little insecurity, and you do it respectfully and fairly, with no belligerence, with no apparent animosity, that is what really messes with people's heads. The Corbynistas cannot help the fact that they were born buggered up. That's you can say that again, Derek. So what I've noticed is I do, like I've said before, I have a bigger Twitter following than many of these people's like campaign managers or social media people. So I'm going to be doing what I can in the next year to really play mind games with them. Hold on a second. Frank Donahue. Thoughts on Yaron Brook? I don't think I've ever heard you discuss him, and was curious to hear your thoughts since he has nothing but shit to say about anarchists and libertarians. Yeah, I mentioned him in the book, New Right. I discuss him there. I think his standard talk on the morality of capitalism is excellent. I think he, and I apologize for being presumptuous, because I resent it when people are this way with me. I think when you work at the Ayn Rand Institute, you are going to be heavily constrained in what you are allowed to say. You basically have to, in many ways, follow Randian and Leonard Peikoff's dogma. Um, I think if I ever had a conversation with him, it would be very elucidating. Um, and I think he's fighting the good fight for the most part. I guess that's what I would say. Um, but I got no beef with him, and I own Rand's copy of The Fountainhead, so one of the best vampire novels ever written. So I listen to Nightshade every night. Troll on, yeah, absolutely. So I think things. I really. The reason I cover European politics so heavily on Nightshade is because so much of people who are political operators watch things in other countries and borrow them from there. And this England and the U.S. very very heavy. Like Margaret Thatcher in '79 presaged Reagan in '80. Brexit presaged Trump. I mean, the media are really kind of very overlappy. So it really is the people here, the smart ones here, the intellectuals, they're seeing this Brexit shit. They're freaking the hell out. And they should. What country leaves the EU next after Britain? I don't know. If there were another country left, the EU would really be in trouble. Who would be the most like? Let's go through the countries, because I actually know my homework on this. Okay, let's go through country by country and see how things are looking. Italy, you got Salvini there, and he's very nationalist. That would be... I'm not saying any of these are likely, but in terms of something that is likely, it would be... The other possibility would be Sweden, where the Sweden Democrats are currently in first place, but it would have to. Other than Italy, I can't think of anyone who would be, unless there's a kind of freak situation. It could be no. It would have to be Italy. That's the only one that's even close at this point to leaving the EU. I don't even know who else would be a possibility. But here's how politics works, which is once Brexit happens, this could spark movements in different countries. So who knows? So yeah, I am just very, very... And the other thing is that's wonderful. This is what's wonderful. Biden is going to get the nomination. I think it's almost a given at this point. Malice, you're lucky that it is 2:30 a.m. in Europe and I am pass out drunk. Thank you for covering my country, Austria. Take my $5. Are there really as many kangaroos there as everyone says? What was I saying? So yeah, Biden's going to be the nominee. And there's a lot to be said for Joe Biden as a candidate. Okay? It's really easy to dismiss him, but let me make the case for Joe Biden. Number one, he has a great Rolodex. He's a glad-hander, and there's lots of people in Washington who want to do him a solid. That's not nothing. Two, he is likable. That says a lot. I mean, to have someone who is likable is kind of a big deal in politics, especially how divisive politics are. I think it's hard, to me, it's really hard to make the case that Joe Biden is evil or a bad person. Especially when you're talking about, he's just like a party hack. Would you say the Tories won due to Murdoch? Absolutely not exclusively. Funding for PSYOPs. Thank you, Danny. He has a sense of humor. He smiles a lot. These are not small deals in politics. Any chance any of our leaders are Saudi puppets. Puppets? I don't know. He would do, of all of them, I mean, I think the debates are going to be, if it's him versus Trump, it's going to be brutal. But I think he would, other than Bernie, I think Bernie of the main candidates, let's talk the big four candidates, right? Biden, Bernie, Warren, and Sanders. Of the four against Trump, I think Bernie might do quite well. And Biden would be right behind. I think Warren would be made an ass out of, and Buttigieg would be embarrassing. You saw how rattled he got by Tulsi. It was hilarious. So, yeah, I do think that, Biden would do well in debates, but I also think we forget Trump's savagery. And when him sitting there and calling Biden out to his face that he doesn't know how to talk anymore, and look, this guy's having a stroke right in front of us. The other thing that's recently been happening, I've covered this on Nightshade, it's under the radar. Biden has a fucking temper. And it's come out like at least 3 or 4 times recently. And it's hilarious. It came out when one reporter asked when the paternity test happened that Hunter had a love child. The face changed. And he's like, yeah, thanks for asking that. And you know what? You have to like someone who is sincere. Like, I don't blame him for being angry that someone's asking about his son's love child. That's a real emotion, number one. When he yelled at that old dude in Iowa just recently about you're a fucking liar, I thought that was honest. He told someone, go vote for Trump. Some immigrants like, we want open borders. And Bernie's like, well, vote for Trump. I'm not doing open borders. Your top 3 phyla of sea creatures and why? It's not happening. And there was some other time where he just kind of like started snapping. That's going to be really fun to watch. So, but they're going to be smart. Because if you look at all the polls, he's the one who's doing the best against Trump. So I think it's going to be fun to watch. I don't think he has a chance, much of one, against Trump, for the simple reason that Trump is currently ahead in Wisconsin. He wasn't ahead in Wisconsin at any point before the election, and he won it. If he's already ahead in the polls now, before he started his long-term savagery, I don't see how they take it. So, yeah, I think it's going to be a bloodbath, and it's going to be fucking hilarious. The most hilarious thing is going to be watching corporate media try to sell Biden to America. Red Eye reunion on morning with Andy Levy. Any progress? I don't understand the question. Please keep the stream up. I want to relive the salt and tears for days. It's going to be up for the Patreon people. So it's going to be absolutely hilarious. As an avid fan of Andy Kaufman, what were your thoughts on the movie Man on the Moon? Like it, hate it, or meh? I like it a lot. I already spite funded an Andy Kaufman autograph. I'm looking at it right now. If it's on my Instagram, it's of Andy dressed as Elvis, and I've gotten a very cool musical frame. So if you go look at my Instagram, you can see it there. Thank you so much to everyone. It was something I will treasure for the rest of my life. It was not cheap. Watching them try to sell, it's kind of like watching them try to sell, Ginsburg. But at least Ginsburg has some kind of record, right? Like she did, do some things in her career. But Biden is like, dude, you're just this old party hack. So it's really kind of hilarious to see. And I'm really, now that Kamala Harris is done, who's the only evil person in this race, you talked up on IG, what's IG? About making a Red Eye reunion when you saw Andy on Instagram, Andy and Bill one night. Yeah, I've invited Andy on Your Welcome a few times and he never replied. So I guess that's not happening. So yeah, I am ecstatic about what's going to happen in 2020. I don't understand the sadism. Or maybe it's just an inability to learn this thing. Like they didn't learn their lesson with Kavanaugh, and now they're doing with impeachment. And Mitch McConnell is a beast. They're going into Mitch McConnell's house. He's a worse person than Trump in many ways, in a good way. Signed copies of the new right. Don't got him yet. So I don't know. I'm just, and it saddens me. It really saddens me to see all the black-pilled people. Like, I try to reach out to them. I'm like, things are so good. When's the last time someone got deplatformed? Remember? Everyone's getting deplatformed every 5 minutes. That went away. Remember? Guys, this is the savagery right now. Right now, just today, minutes ago, Trump is making fun of Nancy Pelosi's dentures. Ari Shafir, and you're welcome. I asked my producer trying to get him on, but I don't think there's been any progress. So yeah, life is so good. Look how hilarious 2019 was. Just I mean, we're not even into 2020, and Kamala Harris has been completely decimated and destroyed. This is beautiful. Everything else is just popcorn now from this point on. It's hilarious. So yeah. Anyway, okay. That's all I basically wanted to cover. I just wanted to do a stream because I haven't done one in a while, and yeah, this is great. So I'm just very happy. And Friday. Oh, so thoughts on Jacob Hornberger campaign and Hillary 2020. Hillary's not running. I think it's insane to think she's running, because she thinks running is beneath her and competing is beneath her. She did everything she could in 2016 to make sure she'd have a straight path, and she still almost fucked it up. Jacob Hornberger campaign, I have no thoughts on that one way or another. Top Phyla. I know. Cordata. So yeah, I'm just one more for the road. Thank you, Sean. So I'm just do you recall Biden's interview where he called for a cyber conflict with Russia? I don't. That's the other thing, guys, and thank you for bringing that up. Doubting Thomas. Thanks, Neandra. John Frusciante is back with the Chili Peppers. I don't know what that means. Guys, there's 40 years of Biden footage that the Trump team is going to go through. And the issues have flopped from, and he's been on all sides. There was just a clip when they were trying not to give a copyright for the Confederate flag, and Joe Biden said the people fighting for this Confederate flag copyright, there's plenty of good people. Like, he said it verbatim. They just found this just now. There's so much out there on him. It's going to be so fucking funny. And he doesn't remember saying half this shit. Because who could remember everything you said 40 years and also advanced senile dementia? It's just amazing. It's just absolutely amazing. So, who was I talking to yesterday? They were just making the point about... Nah, it doesn't matter. Anyway, just the point that, like... I think this kind of... Joe Biden... That I should be back in school across the ocean, one person of the year for time. Yeah, I can't remember this is another reason I'm so optimistic. What's up with DPRK? All good now? Oh yeah, everything's fine. They're all free. The cathedral is getting more and more transparent with their machinations. It is harder and harder to pull their bullshit. And when you have this like twitchy nonverbal chick who's supposed to be your like messiah, and you see adults, it'll be one thing if she was this 16-year-old who graduated, who got her master's. There are these children, right, who are like so brilliant that they're PhDs by the time they're 14. And she's on TV explaining the science to everyone, and this is a brilliant, amazing mind at work. That's not what this is. This is someone who fucking doesn't understand idiom. And we're being told that somehow the 16-year-old high school dropout is someone who we should all venerate. You can't tell the average person you should listen to this kid who dropped out of school as a genius, and the average person will be like, oh yeah, this makes a lot of sense to me. I'm not a moron. So they are getting more and more transparent in their tricks and schemes, and trust is very hard to regain once it's lost. There's a huge asymmetry. I've said this before. If I lie to you once and I tell the truth 99 times, you're going to look at me as a liar. You're not going to look at me as an honest person. A murderer isn't killing 24/7. So it's well, let me see this. Sorry, I missed the super chat. Keep crushing it. Thank you, Tyler. I intend to. So it's just amazing. Oh, so I do have some news. Turd Ferguson, thoughts on malarkey. I'm again it. I have 2 LA trips planned in January. I can't tell you why. It's going to be awesome. They're going to be very different appearances, and they're going to be a lot of fun. And I will bring the spectacle. I promise. I will not let you down. So it's going to be really, really great. So I cannot wait. Good times. I have to get my tickets, which I will be doing tonight, I think. So yeah, it's going to be awesome. Life is good. Life is going to be really, really good. All right. I guess that's all I really wanted to chat about. I hope you're all having a good Sunday and a good December. It was lovely out today. I took a little bit for a walk. Thank you, Abir. I hope I'm pronouncing your name correctly. So yeah, this is I don't know. I don't have much else to report. I hope you are enjoying Nightshade and You're Welcome. This week on You're Welcome we have Camille, finally, which is going to be great. Enjoyed your Guardian article about voting, but isn't it better that we crushed labor than being principled and abstaining? Who's we? You wanted me to vote? How the fuck am I supposed to vote? One of the things I read in that article is, this is my perspective. You do what you want. And I'm completely against this idea that if I do something, I'm somehow implying that anyone or everyone else should do the same thing. This is total progressive bullshit. That Kantianism. The idea that act in such a way that your actions can be universal. That is wrong. That is the wrong approach. Would you have Adam Baldwin on Your Welcome? In a heartbeat. Oh, that's an easy one. Why can't the super corrupt DNC come up with a better candidate than old Joe in the 2020 election of the century? He has come in second or third a few times before. He's never come in second or third. He's never come close. I don't know what a better candidate would look like. What would be like the ideal Democratic candidate against Trump? You can't beat someone with no one, right? Like, it's he's a tough character. He took on 20-something Republicans of every shape and size, and he wiped the floor with them. So he's the sitting president, which is a huge advantage. So I don't think Biden, I gotta tell you, Biden's not a bad candidate. He's got minuses, but we're talking about real human beings. When has there ever been a candidate who didn't have minuses? So I think Biden's got a lot more going for him than people realize. Is there anything climate change cannot do? For example, I lost 5 pounds this year. Amazing. I congrats. Is that a good thing? We're trying to lose weight. I'm on a cut right now too. We're doing Operation Anne Frank. And once I get my cum gutters back, I'm never going to lose them again. Chris, word up on voting demands. I don't know what that means. Ever heard the video game series BioShock? I have watched a playthrough of the first one. I didn't like it. And my autism was triggered very heavily because I didn't understand the ecology of that world. What are these people eating? Where are they going to the bathroom? Are they just standing around? Like, it didn't make sense to me in that level, and that triggered me something fierce, like really fierce. Have you read Scott Adams' book God's Debris? I have not. I have not at all. So, yeah, Scott Adams is great. He paid me one of the biggest compliments, like, of my life. He's like, "You're like one of the funniest accounts on Twitter," or whatever it was. I was like, "Holy shit, that's really." Does the DNC realize that the party has gone so far off the rails that someone like the mummy called Biden is their best shot? I don't think they've gone off the rails. Okay, Daniel, let's talk about this at length. The DNC hasn't gone off the rails. It's just there's another set of rails that are being built parallel to it, and it's really hard to move your train from that rail to the other rail. So for decades, these people have had a monopoly on conversation and setting the frames of debate. Now that they've lost that, like, it's like, what do you do? Like, literally, what advice would you do if you've had a monopoly on a market and you've lost it? Monopolies can't really be regained. That's not really a thing. It's very much goes to decentralization as opposed to, like, most economic models. If you look at music, there were like 5 big music companies. Same with networks. You had the big 3, then you had Fox. Now there's Infinite, right? It's very hard to regain that dominance. So it's not. What do you want them to do? So yeah. Thoughts on Eric Weinstein? His gated institutional narrative idea closely parallels the cathedral. I don't follow Eric. A lot of the times he gets it spot on, and a lot of the times I facepalm. And since he works with Peter Thiel, and Peter 100% gets it on every level, I don't know what is going on. And I know Eric is extremely bright. So when people who are... this is my train of thought. When people who I know are extremely bright and work closely with those who get it completely, and the output is in some way not what I would expect at all and can't explain, that means to me I'm missing something. And I don't know what that something is. Okay. Thoughts on FED, Fed repo market flare up, recession soon. I don't know what that means. I'm sorry, Nick. Have you ever tried psychedelics? Am I being detained, officer? Yeah. So, oh God. By the way, thank you so much to you all for the top 3 wish list interview. Okay, that's going to be easy. Camille Paglia, Trump. I would say Hillary, but I know she'd be evasive. Who would be number 3? Who would be number 3? Oh, Kim Jong-un. That's my list. Yeah, that's an easy list. Oh man. What else did I want to talk about? Yeah. So, God, I have not been in LA in quite a long time. I'm very much looking forward to it. So it's going to be. You guys don't even know what I have planned. Like, I grew up on the WWF. Like, I grew up on it, like, very much. And then I got older, I got into Drag Race. And what these things have in common is these are men who know about putting on a show and using spectacle. And I am so... it's to my advantage that so many of my colleagues who are like media personalities, or what we want to call it, don't take these very easy opportunities to put on a show and make a spectacle. It's such an easy thing to do. Is anarchy realistically achievable? We have an anarchist relationship right now. Yeah, done. It's so easily achievable, and yet people don't do it. And I'm just like, takes, like, going on Reuben in my Willy Wonka outfit. How much work did that take? Nothing. But it now becomes a thing. So I'm glad everyone else is too I know stupid is the word, or ignorant, but it works to my advantage, that's for sure. So, yeah. Oh man, good times. I might have to go back to my favorite place on Earth, which is the Museum of Jurassic Technology. And if you haven't been there, I highly recommend you go, and I'm not going to tell you anything about it, and don't look it up. Dear Readers, LA Meetup. Oh, no. I feel that that's, I feel like that would be, I feel like I'm in the zoo. Do you know what I mean? Like, I feel like I would just be on display. So I don't think I would enjoy that. Yeah. Good times. Okay. I think I'm gonna bounce in a minute. 800 people here. I'm sorry to disappoint you all for being such a boring dope. Yeah, I will. So the next thing, I put up a poll on Twitter. What the next thing is I should spite fund, and already the numbers are completely overwhelming. It's going to be a Fugio. I don't think it's pronounced Fugio. Penny, which is the first penny from the United States from 1787, and it says on it, "Mind your business." Isn't that the coolest thing? So yeah, it's not going to be cheap, but it's not my money. So, and that's a great example of spite funding. I don't need this fucking penny. No one needs to give me money for this penny. Thank you, Sam. And yet, I'm going to get the penny. And I'm going to treasure it always. Okay. I will see you all soon. Thank you all for the support. January is going to be awesome. January is going to be totally awesome. And I'll see you all on Twitter. And I got to get my book proposal done. I wish there was some way. Matt Walsh debate. Oh, let me explain what happened there. Yeah. So feel free to tweet at him. Is there anyone you would like to debate? I don't like debating. This is what's funny to me. Thank you. And Katie, I'll answer your question in a second. A lot of times people, especially like alt-right people, will come at me on Twitter and they'll be like, why don't you debate such and such and such? And I'm like, for the same reason I'm not currently baking souffle. Like, how is the default position of someone to be debating someone else? That's such a weird thing. I only had one debate. Tom Woods kicked my ass. So, yeah. Matt Walsh, we had a very productive back and forth in the DMs. It was supposed to happen on Friday. Just a conversation more than a formal debate. And I'm going to follow up, I guess. I don't want to pressure him. But here's the other thing. Like, a lot of people are like, oh, you're going to wipe the floor with him. No, I'm not. I'm not at all interested in attacking him, being aggressive, being antagonistic, being mean, insulting. Like, there'll be zero of that. I came out swinging with Tom. It would be none of that with Matt. And it would be very, I think, productive. So, but I don't know what happened there, but I'll follow up with him. And he seems to me to be an honest but wrong dude. And I think that says a lot when someone is honest in any way. So, yeah. Whew. Okay. Okay, I will talk to you all soon. Now we're done. Have a great Sunday, and I'll probably do another troll stroll soon if the weather's nice. I'm going to the Midwest on Thursday for 4 days. It's going to be a lot of fun. I will be covering... Is that Coke Zero you're drinking? No, it is Kool-Aid. It's going to be good to see nice rural America, which I enjoy enormously. Going to shoot some guns and some children. They don't play their cards right. Okay, guys. Talk soon.